Oh, sorry, Krista. All right, so paper, ruler, pencil. I am using a marker so that you can see my marks up there. Okay, paper, ruler, pencil. When you are drawing your grid, draw lightly, because you are drawing on top of this and you don't want grid marks going through your drawing, because there's going to be different values, some lighter, and if you made your lines super dark and heavy, you're gonna have a really hard time getting those to cover up or get rid of them. So you need to draw lightly. Okay, so we're gonna grid our paper, the entire thing, to a 1 inch by 1 inch grid. Okay, so that means all sides of my squares when I'm done are going to be 1 inch long. So in case we need a refresher, right? This side is the inches. This is centimeters. Use the inches. Okay. The thing that most people find tedious, right, is that we have to make marks first, obviously, and we're going to make them on the top and on the bottom so that we can connect them together to ensure that our grid is straight. If you just try and eyeball it, it's not going to work. And if you're like, oh, I'm just going to flip my ruler and trace that, no, that doesn't work either. Okay, so line up your ruler with your paper. Mine is 8.5, so we're going to mark up to the 8, and it's okay, it'll still work out. So I'm going to look at every inch. I'm going to make a little tiny mark towards the top of my paper. So for every inch, I'm going to make a little tiny dot or line, whatever floats your boat. Right? When you're done, if your paper is not even, and I would just do this technique no matter what, just to be safe, I'm not going to flip my paper around to make my other marks, because then they're going to be off, since my paper is 8.5 and not an even amount of inches. Does that make sense? So I'm going to keep it the exact same way, and I'm just going to bring my ruler straight down, line it up, and do the exact same thing. So I'm going to make a mark at every inch.
What you just do? I'm so lost.
I'm doing the bottom side, my connecting marks, but don't flip your paper. Just bring your ruler across or straight down, however it is that you're doing it. Can y'all see the marks? Like on the screen? Okay. I can't tell from this angle. Okay. Once you have your marks, we're connecting them. So you have to be really patient. Make sure you line them up correctly, and then draw your line. Draw your line lightly. Don't just kill it and make the darkest mark in the world. So line them up, and then you're going to draw from the end of the paper to the end of the paper. So don't just stop at your marks. Oh, well, you can't see that. I got to go darker. But don't just stop at your marks. Go from end to end. So we're creating the first part of our grid. I think my pen is dying. There we go. You're gonna do that all the way across. And I know this is tedious, right? Takes a lot of focus and effort, but if you do it right the first time, you should not have to do it again. So that means you'll grid twice and be done with it, because we have to grid the paper we're working on and the picture that we're using for reference. Make sure you hold your ruler down like firmly so it doesn't move on you. Ruler 101. Let's use kind words, children. You can't see my first. Make sure you really line them up because if they're just a little wonky, I know some of you, it's going to bother the mess out of you. All right, so that means we're taking our time, we're being patient. The biggest problem we see with gridding, I see with gridding, is we get impatient and we don't want to make marks on both sides of our paper. We're like, no, I can make a straight line. Bet. And then I come look at your paper and it's like, whoop, 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 whoop. Right? We don't want that. Okay, so you should have something like this, depending on which side you started on. Next step, we got to grid the other sides.
Oh, fun.
Okay, yes, it's tedious, yes, it takes a little bit of time, but again, you do it right the first time, you don't have to do it over and over and over and over again, because I am going to look at your grids, and if they look crooked, I'm going to tell you to redo them. So, we're going to do the long side. All right, luckily, on mine, hopefully it is on yours, this is even, right? It's 11 inches. If yours is a little off, it's okay, just mark to the nearest inch. I mean, it might be slightly off, but make a mark at every inch. And again, make sure you are doing light lines that you can cover or erase when you need to. And once you have your marks on that side, bring in our ruler straight down, marking the opposite side. Same thing. Ah. Someone just sing Willy Wonka. Oh. All right, and same thing, as soon as you have your marks on both sides of your paper, you're going to connect them. So line it up. And when you have all your marks connected, you should have a 1 inch by 1 inch grid. Yeah. All right, you should end with a grid.
Whoa.
All right, so my squares are 1 inch by 1 inch. I've got my grid again. So with mine, this computer paper, right, it's 8.5 on the short side. So you got this little short bit, but that should not matter. So that would be the grid that we would draw on potentially. So again, whenever you're making your grid, really need to emphasize you have to make marks on both sides of your paper. Don't flip your paper. Don't flip your ruler. Just bring it straight across or straight down so that they stay the same no matter what. Make the marks on both sides or you're not going to get a good grid. It's going to be a little bit wonky and you're going to be like, I don't know what's going on. And then I'm just going to tell you it's because you didn't take your time.